Hey guys, welcome back to Resistance Chicks. We're your hosts, Leah and Michelle. Today's December 4th, 2019. If you just missed the stream that we signed off from, go back and watch it when this stream is over. You will not want to miss what they are trying to do in Massachusetts.
Yeah, take away not just medical and religious exemptions for vaccines, but make you pretty much sign a
waiver of liability.
A waiver of liability that says if your kid gets sick and dies, it's your fault. You knew you killed your kid. And if you got somebody else killed, it's like crazy.
Who would sign it though? Like, I mean, that's really scary. I would move.
You're going to have a lot of good people
even if Massachusetts, like, okay, let's just say if this happened in Ohio and I had kids.
But you know what? We're going to Plymouth in 2020. We're going to change a spiritual stand.
Yes.
Speaking of making a stand.
Just stand.
Today was another fun day at the Capitol where you had more impeachment nonsense. And today they bring forth 4 professors, constitutional professors, to talk about how Trump should be impeached. Now, three of them are partisan hacks, and one steals the show today. You're going to love her. You're going to laugh. You're going to cry. You're going to be appreciative because she's kind of entertaining here in her insanity. She's literally Trump derangement syndrome on steroids. She is the pussy hat wearing, crazy coffee drinking liberal person.
Scary.
We do have one guy, this guy named Turley, not Steve Turley, another guy, who literally lays to rest how this impeachment is a fraud and it doesn't work. You can't do it.
Right.
It's unprecedented. You can't have an impeachment on hearsay. And the person who wrecks, takes a wrecking ball to the Dems narrative today against these professors,
Matt Gaetz,
is our current national hero, Representative Matt Gaetz, who left the other team crying as they left the building. He is that good. You know what? For all of his special fancy teeth and nice hair,
he does look like a creepy Ken doll.
He's good. He's really good.
I would say that to his face. Like, you're kind of creepy.
He's gotten real good at this.
Yeah. No, he's
great. You got some videos. I don't know which one we want to start with.
Okay.
I'm going to start kind of going over some of the professors here. So this guy here, one of the Democrat impeachment witnesses, Noah Feldman, and this is from the Gateway Pundit, previously claimed that Sharia law was superior and more humane than Western laws. Yasmin Mohammed, I follow her on Twitter. She is the foremost ex-Muslim on Twitter, I dare say. What happens to these people's minds? How is this possible? Does this woke virus really make people view execution for blasphemy as superior to free speech? Execution for leaving Islam as superior to freedom of or from religion? Execution of LGBT as superior to equality under the law? Hello. So this is this guy here. He's one of the professors that we're gonna show you today. The House Judiciary Committee, chaired by Representative Jerry Nadler, who was like falling asleep the whole stinking time, kicked off its first impeachment circus this morning, Wednesday morning, December 4th. Noah Feldman, the first impeachment witness the Dems rolled out on Wednesday, not only called for Trump's impeachment shortly after Trump was sworn in, he actually argued in a New York Times op-ed titled, "Why Sharia?" that Islamic Sharia law is more humane than U.S. law. Noah Feldman, a Harvard law professor, bashed legal systems created by Western countries, including the United States, and argued Sharia law is more just and fair than the U.S. Supreme Court. And we're going to take his opinion on whether Trump should be impeached. Mr. Feldman actually believes that a medieval system of laws that chops off the hands of thieves, stones adulterous women, blames the woman when she is raped by a man, publicly hangs and tosses homosexuals off of buildings is more progressive than humane than Western laws. In fact, for most of its history, and I quote from Feldman, Islamic law offered the most liberal and humane legal principles available anywhere in the world. Today, when we invoke the harsh punishments prescribed by Sharia for a handful of offenses, we rarely acknowledge the high standards of proof necessary for their implementation. Feldman also claimed that the West needs Sharia and Islam. It sometimes seems as if we need Sharia as Westerners have long needed Islam as a canvas on which to protect our ideas of the horrible and as a foil to make us look good. He says this: for generations, Western students of the traditional Islamic constitution have assumed that the scholars could offer no meaningful check on the ruler. As one historian recently put it, although Sharia functioned as a constitution, the constitution was not enforceable because neither scholars nor subjects could compel their ruler to observe the law in the exercise of government. But almost no constitution anywhere in the world enables judges or non-governmental actors to compel the audience of an executive who controls the means of force. The Supreme Court of the United States has no army behind it. Institutions that lack the power of the sword must use more subtle means to constrain executives. Like the American constitutional balance of powers, the traditional Islamic balance was maintained by words and ideas, and not just by forcible compulsion. So today's Muslims are not being completely fanciful when they act and speak as though Sharia can structure a constitutional state subject to the rule of law. One big reason that Islamist political parties do so well running on a Sharia platform is that their constituents recognize that Sharia once argued a balanced state in which legal rights were respected. Feldman was widely criticized for his New York Times piece, which was an excerpt from his book, The Fall and Rise of the Islamic State, for promoting Sharia law.
Wow.
This is who the Democrats trotted out as a legal scholar and a constitutional expert to sell the American public on impeaching Trump. Let that sink in for one moment. Now we go on to our next moment. Okay, Michelle, where's my videos? We have a lot of videos to get to. Let's see.
Did we open that one?
You might not have opened that one.
Well, here's our Twitter.
Okay, it's a Charlie Kirk. It's a Charlie Kirk video here.
Now, you guys, this is what you'll get when you come to Resistance Chicks Twitter. Go ahead.
It's the same guy. It's a different exchange.
Okay.
This is quickly. This was a quick one.
All right, let me make us big again.
Noah Feldman testified under oath that he was an impeachment skeptic until July 25th, that July 25th call. In a Vice article on May 17th in 2017, he stated that President Trump committed impeachable acts. This is perjury, and he should be brought up for criminal referral. Remember, Roger Stone was just convicted for perjury to Congress.
Right.
Until this call on July 25th, I was an impeachment skeptic. The call changed my mind, sir, and for good reason. Thank you, I appreciate you.
Okay. Noah Feldman, May 17, 2017. Did the president commit a crime when he had the conversation with Comey? What the president did is an outrage. It's impeachable. And obstruction of justice in the sense of being a high crime, a misdemeanor. But it's almost certainly not a crime of obstruction of justice. This, he said, I know, I was an impeachment skeptic. I was an impeachment skeptic. Okay, go ahead and play this next video. You don't have them up?
Just saw it.
I don't know. I thought we saw one. I don't know if I have...
Go back to the Twitter.
Go back to the Twitter.
Go down. We had seen... Is it the same guy? Because we had seen another video, and you said, no, that's another video with the same guy.
Yeah,
Keep going down.
It was another video.
There.
Okay, here we go.
There you go.
All right, exchange between Representative Matt Gaetz...
I appreciate your testimony.
If you want to make it big, I'll pull them up.
You gave 2,000.
Okay, well, actually, that's not... I'm going to play this.
Okay.
I'm going to play this, but we're done with him. We're going to go on to this woman, Professor Carlin. I don't know who this woman is. They brought her as another witness. Okay, just listen.
$1,000, or you gave $1,000 to Elizabeth Warren, right?
I believe so.
You gave $1,200 to Barack Obama,
I have no reason to question that.
and you gave $2,000 to Hillary Clinton.
That's correct.
Why so much more for Hillary than the other two?
Because I've been giving a lot of money to charity recently because of all of the poor people in the United States.
Well, those aren't the only folks you've been given to. Now, have you ever been on a podcast called Versus Trump?
I think I was on a live panel that the people who ran the podcast called Versus Trump.
On that, do you remember saying the following? Liberals tend to cluster more. Conservatives, especially very conservative people, tend to spread out more, perhaps because they don't even want to be around themselves. Did you say that?
Yes, I did.
Do you understand how that reflects contempt on people who are conservative?
There was a lot of laughing and giggling in this whole, because it's just so ridiculous.
No, what I was talking about there was the natural tendency.
She's gibberish here.
Context. The natural tendency of a compactness requirement to favor a party whose voters are more spread out.
Well,
and I do
Professor,
not have contempt
hold on.
for
Again,
conservatives.
I'm very limited on time, Professor. And so I just have to say, when you talk about how liberals want to be around each other and cluster, and conservatives don't want to be around each other, and so they have to spread out, it makes people, you may not see this from, like the ivory towers of your law school, but it makes actual people in this country feel like, excuse me, you don't get to interrupt me on this time. Now, let me also suggest that when you invoke the president's son's name here, when you try to make a little joke out of referencing Barron Trump, that does not lend credibility to your argument. It makes you look mean. It makes you look like you're attacking someone's family, the minor child of the President of the United States. So let's see if we can get into the facts.
Okay, so I'm going to show you now what she did to call out.
There you go.
To call on what she said about Barron Trump. Let's see if I can find that video. I don't know. Was that the one I just watched?
I think so.
Very well, changed my mind.
Okay, so now I have to find the video over here. I might just find.
I pulled up all the ones you tweeted out.
Yeah.
So I have my bases covered. I did my job.
It's hard because we're trying to go back and forth between her computer and my computer. But what she says. Let me see if I can find this.
Or you gave $1,000 to Elizabeth Warren.
That's the one we just watched.
Okay, that's the one we watched. We want. Let's see.
Testimony. Professor Carlin, you gave $2,000, or
okay.
you gave $1,000.
Did you not tweet it out on accident?
That's weird if I didn't. I will find it here. Barron is trending because of what this woman said, and I'm pretty sure I did tweet it out, but I don't seeing it.
They're probably censoring it.
Yeah.
They don't want people to know that she did this.
Here it
she
is.
said it.
All right.
So while the president can name his son Barron, he can't make him a baron.
It is so weird. It is so weird what she says here. She basically. Let me see if this Fox News video is going to show you.
Was there more to it than that?
There's a little bit more to explain the context of why she's saying that basically President Trump is not a king, and she invokes.
I like what Donna Terry says. She says, so does that mean that
Give him the power to
conservatives
do anything.
don't have a pack mentality?
Yeah, exactly.
Follow the pack. Follow the leader.
People are just sharing the little clip. There's a bigger clip, but I can play a little bit longer clip here.
To do anything he wants. And I'll just give you one example that shows you the difference between him and a king, which is the Constitution says there can be no titles of nobility. So while the president can name his son Baron, he can't make him a baron.
So I don't know why she feels like she can do all these like weird.
She thinks she's a comedian or something.
Yeah, she must think that she's some sort of weird comedian. So this professor, Stanford law professor Pamela Karlan, one of the three witnesses called by Democrats to testify on the first day of the House Judiciary Committee's impeachment inquiry, once admitted to despising President Donald Trump so much that she crossed the street rather than walk by one of his hotels. I'm guessing that she's going to be really neutral on whether he should be impeached or not. In a 2017 American Constitution Society panel discussion, which also included former Weekly Standard editor Bill Kristol and was monitored by the Washington Post, Karlan repeatedly launched into rants about Trump's outrageous behavior both before and after he was elected, repeatedly saying that he, quote, worries her and questioning whether he is able to tell the difference between truth and falsehood. She shared the anecdote after avoiding the Trump International Hotel in Washington, D.C. in her very first statement on the panel. I came in from the airport yesterday and I got off the bus from Duels down and I walked up and now I can't even go past the Trump Hotel. She is obviously incredibly and weirdly partisan. And she did come back and to apologize. And I'm sorry that I invoked Barron Trump, blah, 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 blah. But the president I wish the president would apologize for all the stuff he's done. She's just a child. It was so childish. Okay, go ahead and bring up the videos. We do have some sane people. So let's play a few more sane clips while we have you here. And while we have... let's see.
Professor Carlin, you gave two...
Okay, we have that one. So let's go back to... should go to Turley here. It's really good. But let's see. I love this one.
See if we can get into the facts. To all of the witnesses, if you have personal knowledge of a single material fact in the Schiff report, please raise your hand. And let the record reflect no personal knowledge of a single fact. And you know what? That continues on the tradition that we saw from Madam Schiff, where Ambassador Taylor could not identify an impeachable offense. Mr. Kent never met with the president. Fiona Hill never heard the president reference anything regarding military aid. Mr. Hale was unaware of any nefarious activity with aid. Colonel Vindman even rejected the new Democrat talking point that bribery was invoked here. Ambassador Volker denied that there was a quid pro quo, and Mr. Morrison said there was nothing wrong on the call. The only direct evidence came from Gordon Sondland, who spoke to the President of the United States, and the President said, "I want nothing. No quid pro quo."
Yeah, so...
I got it. Well, because you don't know how to do the escape thing.
Okay,
There you go.
So that is the simplest thing. All this is like some stupid hearsay. And what made me giggle as I was watching
So
this...
let's see if we can get into the facts. To all...
Nobody has any firsthand knowledge. There's a lot of people out there who hate Trump.
You can't just pull them all before a committee and say that they have an authority.
But there's
to
a
speak.
lot of people out there who really hate Trump to where they're triggered by Trump.
Right.
They have Trump derangement syndrome.
Ooh.
And so I'm wondering if the pharmaceutical company wants to make a few $billion and come up with a vaccine against this TDS.
Yeah.
And then our country will be happy and safe again. Yeah. Because here, by all measurable qualifications, when you wake up, is your life physically, is it any different? Is it any better? Or is it any worse since Trump has been elected? Ask that to all of your liberal friends who hate Trump so much that he's destroying the very fabric of our republic, and you hate how he acts and you hate all this. Now, when you take your kids to school, is there anything that you can measure besides, ask your liberal friends this, is there anything you can measure in your own life, personal life, that is worse off because of President Trump?
Besides how you feel.
Is there anything better? Have you looked at gas prices lately? They're way down, okay? That's Trump. You know, and I don't look at these things, but other people do. Unemployment. I can look at the stock market, and I am shocked where it's going. I think it's going to crash. But it's as high as it has ever been. That is a measurable, physically measurable thing. I don't put stock in the stock market, but if I did, my stocks would be soaring right now. Absolutely soaring. If this was Barack Obama, every single day the media would say, look at our stocks. Look at the gas prices.
Right.
He's our savior.
Right.
He's our hero. Everything's wonderful. We're not at war with North Korea. We're pulling out of Syria. Everything is great. By all measurable things. Now, we're resistance chicks. We're homesteaders. We believe that stock market's going to crash. But I am coming, as Michelle and I say, if you're going to be a debater, you got to debate their side. You have to know what they're saying, okay? And that's what they're saying. So let me go on to some more videos here. Some of it's just entertainment at this point.
I love it.
Jimmy
Jordan. He's from Ohio.
The gentleman for yielding. Professor Carlin, context is important, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, because just a few minutes ago when our colleague from Florida presented a statement you made, you said, well, you got to take that statement in context, but it seems to me you don't want to extend the same or apply the same standard to the president. Because the now famous quote, I would like you to do us a favor, you said about an hour and a half ago that didn't mean us, it meant the president himself. But that's the clear reading of this, I would like you to do us a favor, though, because, you know what the next two words are?
I don't have the document.
I'll tell you, because our country. He didn't say, I would like you to do me a favor, though, because I have been through a lot. He said, I want you to do us a favor, though, because our country has been through a lot. You know what when this call happened? Happened the day after Mueller was in front of this committee. Of course, our country was put through 2 years of this. And the idea that you're now going to say, oh, this is the royal we, and he's talking about himself, ignores the entire context of his statement. That whole paragraph, you know what he ends that paragraph with? Talking about Bob Mueller. And this is the basis for this impeachment, this call. It couldn't be further from the truth. You want the standard to apply when Representative Gaetz makes one of your statements. Oh, you got to look at the context. But when the President of the United States is clear, you try to change his word. And when the context is clear, he's talking about the 2 years that this country went through because of this Mueller report. Somehow that standard doesn't apply to the President. That is ridiculous.
Gentleman's time has expired.
That's Nadler right there. All right, so okay, so we did that one, so we're gonna close that one down. We did that one, so we can close that down. I think we did that one. I was like, I can watch it over and over again. In less than 10 minutes.
You didn't do that one because you said you didn't want to do that one because we already watched that other guy. The guy
$1,000, or you gave $1,000
this weird guy on the end.
No, that was, and then it turns to that. Turn straight back to her.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so now we're going to get on to the one guy. This Turley guy. He talks about impeachment have to be based on proof and not presumptions. And then he talks about, in less than 10 minutes, Jonathan Turley destroys the Democrats' flailing poll-tested claims that Donald Trump committed bribery. Because what they try to do, what that means is, people didn't like the term quid pro quo. So they literally brought groups of people together. Do you like the term bribery better or quid pro quo? And people are like, I understand bribery more. So then they started to say, well, the president bribed. Because of focus groups. Focus groups. Okay? And so we're going to play these two videos. And I guess we'll play the bribery one first. Here we go.
The statement has been made, not just by these witnesses, but Chairman Schiff and others, that this is a clear case of bribery. It's not. And Chairman Schiff said that it might not fit today's definition of bribery, but it would fit the definition back in the 18th century. Now, putting aside Mr. Schiff's turn towards originalism, I think that it might come as a relief to him and his supporters that his career will be a short one, that there is not an originalist future in that argument. The bribery theory being put forward is as flawed in the 18th century as it is in this century. The statement that was made by one of my esteemed colleagues is that bribery really wasn't defined until much later. There was no bribery statute, and that is certainly true. But it obviously had a meaning. That's why they put it in this important standard. Bribery was not this overarching concept that Chairman Schiff indicated. Quite to the contrary. The original standard was treason and bribery. That led Mason to object that it was too narrow. If bribery could include any time you did anything for personal interest instead of public interest, if you have this overarching definition, that exchange would have been completely useless. The framers didn't disagree with Mason's view that bribery was too narrow. What they disagreed with was when he suggested maladministration to add to the standard, because he wanted it to be broader. And what James Madison said is that that's too broad. That would essentially create what you might call a vote of no confidence in England. It would basically allow Congress to toss out a president that they did not like. But once again, we're all channeling the intent of the framers, and that's always a dangerous thing to do. The only more dangerous spot to stand in is between Congress and an impeachment as an academic. But I would offer instead the words of the framers themselves. You see, in that exchange, they didn't just say bribery was too narrow. They actually gave an example of bribery. And it was nothing like what was described. When the objection was made by Madison, ultimately the framers agreed. And then Morris, who was referred to earlier, did say we need to adopt the standard. But what was left out was what came afterwards. What Morris said is that we need to protect against bribery, because we don't want anything like what happened with Louis XIV and Charles II. The example he gave of bribery was accepting actual money as the head of state. So what had happened in that example that Morris gave as his example of bribery was that Louis XIV, who was a bit of a recidivist when it came to bribes, gave Charles II a huge amount of money, as well as other benefits, including apparently a French mistress, in exchange for the secret treaty of Dover of 1670. It also was in exchange for his converting to Catholicism. But that wasn't some broad notion of bribery. It was actually quite narrow. So I don't think that dog will hunt in the 18th century, and I don't think it'll hunt today. Because if you take a look at the 21st century, bribery is well defined. And you shouldn't just take our word for it. You should look to how it's defined by the United States Supreme Court. In a case called McDonald versus the United States, the Supreme Court looked at a public corruption bribery case. This was a case where gifts were actually received, benefits were actually extended. There was completion. This was not some hypothetical of a crime that was not fulfilled or an action that was not actually taken. The Supreme Court unanimously overturned that conviction. Unanimously. And what they said was that you cannot take the bribery crime and use what they called a boundless interpretation. All the justices said that it's a dangerous thing to take a crime like bribery and apply a boundless interpretation. They rejected the notion, for example, that bribery could be used in terms of setting up meetings and other types of things that occur in the course of a public service career. So what I would caution the committee is that these crimes have meaning. It gives me no joy to disagree with my colleagues here. And I really don't have a dog in this fight. But you can't accuse a president of bribery. And then when some of us note that the Supreme Court has rejected your type of boundless interpretation, say, well, it's just impeachment. We really don't have to prove the elements. That's a favorite mantra that is sort of close enough for jazz. Well, this isn't improvisational jazz. Close enough is not good enough. If you're going to accuse a president of bribery, you need to make it stick, because you're trying to remove a duly elected president of the United States. Now, it's unfair to accuse someone of a crime, and when others say, well, those interpretations you're using to define the crime are not valid, and to say they don't have to be valid, because this is impeachment. That has not been the standard historically. My testimony lays out the criminal allegations in the previous impeachments. Those were not just proven crimes, they were accepted crimes. That is, even the Democrats on the Judiciary Committee agreed that Bill Clinton had committed perjury. That's on the record. And a federal judge later said it was perjury. In the case of Nixon, the crimes were established. No one seriously disagreed with those crimes. Now, Johnson's the outlier because Johnson was a trapdoor crime. They basically created a crime knowing that Johnson wanted to replace Secretary of War Stanton. And Johnson did, because they had serious trouble in the cabinet. So they created a trapdoor crime, waited for him to fire the Secretary of War, and then they impeached him. But there's no question he committed the crime. It's just the underlying statute was unconstitutional. So
then there's one more I want to play for you guys here, where he talks about the presumption here.
That is, what my esteemed colleagues said was certainly true. If you accept all of their presumptions, it would be obstruction. But impeachments have to be based on proof, not presumptions. That's the problem when you move towards impeachment on this abbreviated schedule that has not been explained to me. Why you want to set the record for the fastest impeachment. Fast is not good for impeachment. Narrow, fast impeachments have failed. Just ask Johnson. So the obstruction issue is an example of this problem. And here's my concern. The theory being put forward is that President Trump obstructed Congress by not turning over material requested by the committee. Okay? And citations have been made to the third article of the Nixon impeachment. Now, first of all, I want to confess, I've been a critic of the third article of the Nixon impeachment my whole life. My hair catches on fire every time someone mentions the third article. Why? Because you would be replicating one of the worst articles written on impeachment. Here's the reason why. Peter Rodino's position as chairman of Judiciary was that Congress alone decides what information may be given to it. Alone. His position was that the courts have no role in this. And so, by that theory, any refusal by a president based on executive privilege or immunities would be the basis of impeachment. That is essentially the theory that's being replicated today. President Trump has gone to Congress, to the courts. He's allowed to do that. We have 3 branches, not 2.
Okay, so I went ahead and I did tweet out the last video here with Matt Gaetz talking about wiretapping and whether that is, you're not escaping.
That is what my esteemed colleague said was certainly.
So you can look at my Twitter profile there, my Twitter profile, and there we are right there. So Matt Gaetz
also elected Donald Trump to be the president.
And this is from Thomas Massey. I tweeted out, Thomas Massey says, Matt Gaetz exposes a sham today. If wiretapping a political opponent is an impeachable offense, I look forward to reading the Inspector General's report, because maybe it's a different president we should be impeaching, which would be Obama.
President of the United States in the 2016 election, and there's one party that can't seem to get over it. Now, we understand the fact that in 2018 you took the House of Representatives, and we haven't spent our time during your tenure in power trying to remove the Speaker of the House, trying to delegitimize your ability to govern. Frankly, we'd love to govern with you. We'd love to pass USMCA. We'd love to put out a helping hand to our seniors and lower prescription drug prices. It's the will of the people you ignore when you continue down this terrible road of impeachment. Professor Gerhardt, you gave money to Barack Obama, right?
My family did, yes.
4 times?
That sounds about right. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I have a series of unanimous consent requests relating to Professor Feldman's work. The first, Noah Feldman, Trump's wiretap tweets raise risk of impeachment.
The gentleman will suspend.
My time.
We'll take that time off. Has the gentleman submitted? Have we seen those? That material?
We can provide it to you, as is typical for unanimous.
And we'll consider the unanimous consent request later after we review.
Very well. Very well. Thank you.
Gentlemen may continue.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Feldman wrote articles entitled, "Trump's Wiretap Tweets Raise Risk of Impeachment." He then wrote, "Mar-a-Lago ad belongs in impeachment file." And then Mr. Jake Flanagan wrote in Quartz, a Harvard law professor thinks Trump could be impeached over fake news accusations. My question, Professor Feldman, is since you seem to believe that the basis for impeachment is even broader than the basis that my Democrat colleagues have laid forward, do you believe you're outside of the political mainstream on the question of impeachment?
I believe that impeachment is warranted whenever the president abuses his power for personal benefit or to corrupt the democratic process.
Did you write an article entitled, "It's Hard to Take Impeachment Seriously Now"?
Yes, I did write that article.
And in that article, did you write, hold on, I'm limited on time. So
I wrote
did you
that
write,
article.
since the 2018 midterm election, House Democrats have made it painfully clear that discussing impeachment is primarily or even exclusively a tool to weaken President Trump's chances in 2020. Did you write those words?
Until this call on July 25th, I was an impeachment skeptic. The call changed my mind, sir, and for good reason.
Thank you. I appreciate your testimony. Professor Carlin, you gave $2,000, or you gave $1,000 to Elizabeth Warren, right?
I believe so.
You gave $1,200 bucks to Barack Obama?
I have no reason to question that.
And you gave $2,000 bucks to Hillary Clinton?
That's correct.
Why so much more for Hillary than the other two?
Because I've been giving a lot of money to charity recently because of all of the poor people in the United States.
Well, those aren't the only folks you've been given to. Now, have you ever been on a podcast called Versus Trump?
I think I was on a live panel that the people who ran the podcast called Versus Trump.
On that, do you remember saying the following? Liberals tend to cluster more. Conservatives, especially very conservative people, tend to spread out more. Perhaps because they don't even want to be around themselves. Did you say that?
Yes, I did.
Do you understand how that reflects contempt on people who are
No,
conservative?
you're fine. Yeah,
No, what I was
it's just a
talking
longer
about
clip.
there was
He
the
talked about it
natural
in
tendency,
the beginning.
if you put the quote in context, the natural tendency of a compactness requirement to favor a party whose voters are more spread out.
Well,
and I do
Professor,
not have contempt
hold on.
for
Again,
conservatives.
I'm
and I
very
do not
limited
have
on time, Professor. And so I just have to say, when you talk about how liberals want to be around each other and cluster, and conservatives don't want to be around each other, and so they have to spread out, it makes people, you may not see this from, like the ivory towers of your law school, but it makes actual people in this country
When the
feel like,
president
excuse
calls
me, you don't get to interrupt me on this time. Now, let me also suggest that when you invoke the president's son's name here, when you try to make a little joke out of referencing Barron Trump, that does not lend credibility to your argument. It makes you look mean. It makes you look like you're attacking someone's family, the minor child of the President of the United States. So let's see if we can get into the facts. To all of the witnesses, if you have personal knowledge of a single material fact in the Schiff report, please raise your hand. And let the record reflect no personal knowledge of a single fact. And you know what? That continues on the tradition that we saw from Madam Schiff, where Ambassador Taylor could not identify an impeachable offense. Mr. Kent never met with the president. Fiona Hill never heard the president reference anything regarding military aid. Mr. Hale was unaware of any nefarious activity with aid. Colonel Vindman even rejected the new Democrat talking point that bribery was invoked here. Ambassador Volker denied that there was a quid pro quo, and Mr. Morrison said there was nothing wrong on the call. The only direct evidence came from Gordon Saunders.
Where what she does here in framing in framing Barron Trump as framing Donald Trump as a king with Representative Sheila Jackson is so weird.
The July 25th call. I think the way you need to ask about this is, how does it fit into the pattern of behavior by the president? Because what you're really doing is you're drawing inferences here. This is about circumstantial evidence as...
She's telling you, and this is really important to play the whole clip, this is about circumstantial evidence. You don't impeach a president on circumstantial evidence and inferences.
Well as direct evidence. That is, you're trying to infer, did the president ask for a political favor? And I think this record supports the inference that he did.
What comparisons, Professor Carlin, can we make between kings that the framers were afraid of and the president's conduct today?
So kings could do no wrong because the king's word was law. And contrary to what...
I feel like we're talking to a group of kindergartners about why the Pilgrims left England.
President Trump has said Article 2 does not give him the power to do anything he wants. And I'll just give you one example that shows you the difference between him and a king, which is the Constitution says there can be no titles of nobility.
Wait, I'm sorry to keep interrupting her. Can I just remind you that this is not Saturday Night Live? That this is the Congress of the United States of America, and the whole world is watching, and this is an embarrassment this is where embarrassment goes to be embarrassed.
So while the president can name his son Barron, he can't make him a baron.
Thank you. The founding
fathers. You can't make him a baron. The king.
So
the
Ellen
king, the
says
king.
that we had turned off that video right before Gaetz said the part about impeaching Obama.
Oh,
but
really?
I think you got. Well, that's what she says. She said you shut it off.
Oh no! Then I didn't get the end of it because it didn't. That was the end of the video. End of that clip. So I'll have to find that again. All right. So here she apologizes for that clip.
Say one thing. I want to apologize.
She wants to apologize.
Twitter won't even let her apologize.
I know, right?
For what I said earlier.
course you do. Of course you do. Of course you do. We're going to try this again. Take things slow. Play you again. Here we go.
I apologize for what I said.
Thought you wanted to apologize. Yeah, that's still coming out. Let's try shutting that one down. She wants to apologize 500 times.
Earlier about the president's son. What I said earlier about the president's son. I wish the president would apologize, obviously, for the things that he's done that's wrong, but I do regret having said that.
Thank you, Professor. One of the most important questions that every member of this committee...
Okay, thank you, Professor. That's her trying to apologize. So weird.
Okay, so I have this 13 seconds here.
Okay.
Of Gaetz.
And you know what? If wiretapping a political opponent's an impeachable offense, I look forward to reading that Inspector General's report, because maybe it's a different president we should be impeaching.
Gentleman's time has expired, Mr. Cicilline.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
That's awesome. Thank you. We needed that. We needed the ending there. We definitely needed that. All right. I'm going to try this again. I want to get... Now, you just need to see Melania Trump tweeted in a very rare tweet. She was not happy.
So I'm still kind of curious though about, because I know that Trump doesn't always tweet from his own Twitter. If the same person that tweets from Trump's Twitter for him sometimes is not tweeting for Melania here. But I'm sure he obviously has her permission.
Melania Trump, a minor child deserves privacy and should be kept out of politics. Pamela Karlan, you should be ashamed and of your very angry and obviously biased public pandering and using a child to do it. So there we have that. But you know what we're going to do? We're moving on.
I love her so much.
We're moving on. You know why? Because we're going to end this show.
Oh, this is so great. And I haven't watched it yet. It's not been on my list of things to watch.
Make it big for the people.
Is it only a minute long?
It's just a minute long.
Yeah, I'm going to need to do that on mine because it won't show up right behind us. This is one of my favorite things of the whole year. We're still doing a show, Mom. We did a second one. Okay, well, we said it at the end of the show. We said, come right back. We're watching Melania and the White House. We're almost done. We're signing off.
And then you went out the mainstream media had to say they didn't like her coat.
Are you serious?
After all of that, after how beautiful that is, how beautiful she is.
Gosh, they can't. They have to pick on everything.
Stunning, and they're like, and that coat had to go. It was pretty. It was all right. It was all right, but the coat had to go. I'm like, what?
Oh my gosh.
What?
I can't stand these people.
What?
Underneath my hair, it literally says, "I can't stand them." No, just kidding. So Patriot Gallery didn't know we were doing this extra stream, and she wants us to do another 5-minute show, but she's got to show us what it is first. So I guess we'll sign off here.
Some of the trees.
And we will come right back.
Look at the trees.
No idea what we're going to be doing this show on. Knowing Patriot Gallery, it's either going to have to do with the fiat money system or horses. Those are her favorite things.
All right, guys. So it's a sham, and I just brought you this stuff because I thought they were the most entertaining clips. Because I don't really care. Because I think it's all stupid. Stupid. And American people think it's stupid. And I don't know what the Democrats are thinking, but like, I really feel like they're all trying to audition for Saturday Night Live
It's
when
good
this whole thing is
news.
over.
It's really, here's the good news. They're falling on their faces. They've got nothing.
They get back up and then they just fall again. And the Republicans are like,
so here's what I want to know.
What are
Instead
you doing?
of law,
why are you doing this?
Why
to
law
yourself?
professors though? Why not actual judges on the Supreme Court circuit or something like that have they're supposed to be knowledgeable.
And found the most TDS syndromed professors too. They
Trump
should
derangement
They
syndrome.
really should have looked at that Feldman guy and his article on Sharia law.
Oh my god!
Maybe they should have vetted him better. All right, guys,
we're gonna sign off here. We will be back here in a few minutes with whatever Patriot Gallery. It could be something really off the wall. I have no idea. It's a big surprise. Elephants. Who knows? But we're going to come back with whatever it is. It's going to be awesome. We'll be right back. Thank you guys for being with us. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Masfaith3 and Resistance Chicks. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, Bitchute.
Ring the bell. Get those notifications.
Yeah, they keep taking subscribers. Go and check if you're still subscribed. Leave comments after the video. Send us your letters. P.O. Box 107, Milford, Ohio 45150. We got our very first Christmas card today from the Mathis 5 family.
We got one from Jamaica.
Oh, that's right. We did. That was the first one. I forgot. Okay, we'll see you back here shortly. Love you guys. God bless.